you.
Good, good, man.
Wonderful,
What?
wonderful. And you've actually been a part of the community for a while. How many job hunts have we actually helped facilitate for you?
Two so far. Like
Two?
two solid gigs.
Okay. What was the first job and what was the second job?
All right, so the first one was at AAA Washington. That was back in 2021, March of 2021, and I was with them for 3 years, and then I landed an offer from Lucid Motors here in California in March of 2024.
Oh my gosh, wasn't 2021 a wonderful year?
Yeah, things were very different back then.
Peace times. Before a little company in the Bay Area called
Hmm.
OpenAI just started the whole shebang.
Yep.
Very, very, very nice, man. Wonderful. And what did you, I mean, and then like you've done the job hunt like a few times right now, and I
Hmm.
think you came into the community during a very interesting time because the program was very different before COVID, before the pandemic. And then obviously the program was, and you weren't there, part of the community during that time. And then we had the time where you're part of, during the
Hmm.
pandemic, I would say the first 6, 7 months of COVID when people are like, can tech actually function from home? That was a very interesting time. And you came in, I think in 2021 was when this was a new type of like, I'd say 80% work from home, maybe 20% hybrid, but it was a very good time. The people were like recruiters were taking talent out to lunch just to get people to interviews. That was 2021 was the year of the Great Resignation.
Yeah. Yeah,
People
no,
were
things were definitely different at that time. I mean, COVID just flipped everything upside down. Yeah, so, that was there. And my job at AAA Washington was actually 100% remote. I used to attend, occasional in-office events, usually like once a quarter or so, but there wasn't much to that. So, I mean, it was comfortable and things were different back then for sure. Um, and eventually with the Lucid offer, it was just so much better. It was a huge jump between what AAA Washington was offering and what Lucid was offering. So, that made all the difference. Lucid, completely different beast, manufacturing operations. The automotive industry is very different from travel and leisure and insurance services, so that was Lucid was 5 days a week in the office for a long time, and eventually we got hybrid.
got it. What would you say was like the difference in interviewing? Because obviously AAA, that was your first transition over with us. And then Lucid, that was your second one. You had a little bit more on the job experience, you had a little bit more
Hmm.
hands-on experience. But those are two also very different organizations, right? AAA
Right.
is the insurance company every kid in America knows.
Yeah.
Growing up, like your car breaks down, like, did you call AAA? And then obviously, I think Lucid is more like I would say something that's more aligned with the tech, like a tech company with a hardware component, like Tesla.
Yes.
Um, what would you say was the difference in like how a kind of like the legacy traditional, very traditional company like AAA because their end product's not technology, it's
Yeah.
insurance,
Hmm.
versus like Lucid that's like trying to compete with like Tesla, right? What would you say
Yeah.
was the difference in like the interview culture and then also the work culture?
Oh, huge difference. I'll start with the interview aspect first. So with AAA Washington, their product management function, the digital product management function was very nascent when I joined. It was just a team of two that I joined, and that role was still growing. Everything that I learned at Product Gym, especially with regards to interviewing, translated straight over to interviewing for that role. Like it was like clockwork, how the questions that I was asked were exactly what I'd been taught to expect in the product gym curriculum. So everything mapped over, and as a result, I was able to interview very confidently with them. And I was, even though I as is the case, I guess, with a lot of folks coming to Product Gym, they don't actually believe they're product managers until they find out that they've been product managing their whole lives, basically. So it was the same case with me, and it gave me that confidence to just nail those answers, nail those interviews. I was very comfortable with that. Fast forward to Lucid, as you mentioned, very different beast, different culture altogether. Lucid is very much a startup, even though it's over 10 years old, but it operates very much like a startup. In some ways they are they have finally evolved their processes, but in other ways it's still struggling to catch up because there's so many moving parts at play over there. But again, everything that I learned at Product Gym, backed up with my experience from AAA Washington, mapped over nicely to those interviews, and I was very comfortable throughout the whole process, from all the way from round one to the offer, and even negotiating the offer. You know, I shamelessly asked for the maximum that they were offering, and they handed it to me. So, uh, you know, loved it.
Love it. What about the pace, like in terms of like the work? I imagine it's faster at Lucid. Like they operate on a higher sense of urgency. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I feel like AAA you have like a lot of lifers that are there
Yes,
throughout the
that's very
throughout
true.
the entire organization, not just on the tech side.
Yeah.
What would you say is the pace is like?
Yeah, so at AAA, I was working with people who'd been there for 40 plus years, fresh drop out of college and still with the company. So yeah, that was there too. But then at the same time, moving on to Lucid, if people stay with Lucid for 5 years, they're considered long term, like lifers basically. So very different culture. The pace of work at Lucid is breakneck. Things change very, very quickly, very fluid environment, and we pretty much do the impossible on a weekly basis.
Ooh, what about stress level? In terms of like, I imagine that it's probably not very stressful at AAA compared to Lucid.
Yeah, I would agree with that. At AAA, the needle moves very slowly. And that's expected. I mean, the organization's over 100 years old, and the model under which it operates, it's very mature, basically. So things are not expected to change overnight. But companies like Lucid, I mean, they're in a fight for survival, right? So the stress level is definitely, it comes with the territory. But at the same time, I would say, good work-life balance, even with that stress. I mean, it's one of those jobs, that I wake up in the morning looking forward to, everything that I got to do that day. So, it's tough, but it's fun too at the same time.
Oh my gosh. Yo, so what would you recommend for somebody that's thinking about doing a product manager program? Would you recommend that they would enroll with us?
Yep, 100%. I have said this in the past too, and I'll say it again. This has been one of the best investments I've ever made. Small price to pay for what you get in return for it once you get into the job market and you realize your own capabilities as a product manager, as a professional. Where you're not just pretending to be something that you thought you were. You can actually back that up with results. Uh, and that's a lot to say. I mean, it's worth the confidence you gain. It's worth the monetary gain from the money that you make at the job. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. Anybody who's looking to get into product management, they need to check out Product Gym.
Yo, man, that means the world to us right now. We look forward to seeing where your career takes you and helping you land, the next big fish in the pond. Keep up all the good work, man. Are you still out there in the Bay Area?
Yes, still out here in the Bay Area, correct?
Fantastic, go because we're definitely looking to going out there again this year. I'm gonna go and let you get on with your day, but let's get it, man. Let's go out there and let's take that career of yours to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Great talking to you, Rich.